He has this win on the Tour de France, and we can say that he is the best Jasper Philipsen.
And Matt, we still have some big teams in the bunch that haven't won yet. Red Bull, Visma, Ineos. Do you think that's going to impact a lot?
Maybe not so much for Visma, Lisa, Michael Bora. I think they're looking towards the general classification, so I think they have a slightly different focus. But for teams like Ineos, who've got obviously ambitions for GC and winning stages, I think we might see Tom Pidcock active. I think EF would be one of the biggest teams today going for it. And in relation to Alpecin Deceuninck, you were saying that the pressure is off. Look out for Axel Laurence. But as you say, over half of the teams here haven't won yet, and this is a clear opportunity for the breakaway. Although it's got the profile and the elevation of an alpine stage, over 4,300 meters of elevation. Not easy at all coming in the second half.
4,000, almost 400 elevation meters today. Let's see what's on the menu for the riders today.
So here is the profile of today's route into the Massif Central, setting out from Évaux-les-Bains. They have 65 kilometers before they get to Bourg-Lastic, which is where the intermediate sprint will take place. Then there are the 6 climbs of the day. The first to 4th category climb, the Côte de Mulieu, 1.9 kilometers at an average gradient of 6.3. Then the Côte de la Rode, a 3rd category climb. It's still bumpy right the way through to the concluding 50 kilometers of the stage, where the climbs come thick and fast. The Col de Néron, 3.8k at an average gradient of 9.1%, is followed by the Puy Méripas de Pérol. Then there's the bonus seconds at the Col de Pertus, before a climb just before the finish in Le Liorin at Col de Fond de Serre.
Unbelievable.
That's 3.3 kilometers at 5.8%, after the 4.4 at 7.9 at Petrus.
This whole stage is nothing but a climb.
So a challenging day lying ahead, and as you have just seen from the profile, a return to climbing, a return to elevation, a return to the challenges that those put forward to the riders.
Woo!
So a slightly more reserved atmosphere. Let's hear from our experts about the stage.
Today's stage is not for the faint-hearted. We're not in the Alps, we're not in the Pyrenees, but the profile today, Anders, lends itself to what we'd see in a mountain stage. Lots of talk whether this could be for the general classification riders or a breakaway. What are your initial thoughts on what could happen today?
First, like everyone else, I think it could be a potential breakaway stage, because we have a long run in before the climbs, but we know there are so many teams, so many riders who want to be in the break, and we saw that many times in the Giro d'Italia, how long the fight was for the breakaway to be established, and in the end, Pogacar took it all. So I don't know what's going to happen, because if they don't get a long enough advantage, I think the GC riders are going to fight for the stage point.
Matt Stevens, the Puy-Marie could be a great launch pad, but it comes with 31 kilometers to go. Do you think general classification riders will try to do something there?
I think Tadej Pogacar in particular, if he senses an opportunity, will go for it. He races on instinct, and I think deep down he might be a little bit worried about the way that Jonas Vingegaard is riding. And remember, it's a short climb, 5.8 kilometers at over 8%, right up Tadej Pogacar's alley. So I do think if we'll see potentially 2 battles, but that just what Anders said before. Given the narrow roads we've got today, the technical nature, there'll be a lot of momentum in the peloton behind, positioning for the GC teams. So it could be that the break doesn't get too much, and it could all even come back together. So difficult to call, although I do think the break will stay, but definitely a battle for the GC. I think the climbs are hard enough.
Well, here at the start, it's starting to feel a little moisture in the air, little raindrops here and there, so that could also have a big play on what happens in today's stage. But one thing's for certain, there's going to be some riders who came here for the general classification who are out of contention, and they want to try and get revenge, and they want the stage victory.
And as has been mentioned as well, 13 of the teams still without a stage victory on this year's tour. It has been relatively well shared out so far, 10 stages, 9 different teams with victory. And that does leave the 13. Groupama FDG, one of those teams who are yet to pick up a stage win so far. Let's now hear from EF Education Easy Post.
One team who's been incredibly active throughout this Tour de France is EF Education Easy Post, and today they've got 4 options whether it goes to the breakaway. Matt Stevens, there's a high chance that the breakaway could stay away until the finish here on stage 11, and the general classification riders are battling it out. It's almost 2 races in one.
Yeah, I think it's more likely the breakaway will stay, but you never know. We saw some similar scenarios in the Giro d'Italia where I thought that's a day for the break. And the momentum with the GC teams in terms of positioning on narrow roads and climbs meant that the break never got a lead, and it ended up being a GC battle. And I was chatting to Charlie Wigalius, one of the DSs at the team, at EF, and he said, you know, you just think you get to understand the new narrative of the sport, the new way that the races evolve, and he said, you just got to tear it up. Like, he didn't understand what happened yesterday. We can't really predict
It's unpredictable.
what's going to happen today. It's great, but we're all learning, aren't we, as it evolves. But EF, in terms of their firepower, they've got so many options. They haven't really got a GC rider now, but looking at the profile at the back end, it's going to suit Ben Healy, it's going to suit Carapaz, it's going to suit Nilsson Paulus, it's going to suit Alberto Bettiol. They've got Bissiger to use early on to force some splits. They've got a team that really could make a difference today.
When there's so much elevation like we've got today with 4,350 metres, you take a look at Richard Carapaz, you take a look at Nilsson Paulus, who ordinarily would be general classification riders.
Yep.
They're out of that now.
Yep.
And so this stage is almost tailor-made for them, particularly with those short, punchy climbs.
Yeah, and I think if they do get into a break, what they won't have to do is go head-to-head with some of the GC guys. So there's a bigger chance if the break does stay clear, and they manage to infiltrate it, that they've got a real chance of winning today. I think, I'd say for this team, in particular, and 1 or 2 other teams, this is the biggest chance, I think, to take an actual stage win. So expect to see the guys in pink with their aero helmets, pink and yellow, and of course their furry banana, courtesy of Richard Carapaz, really in the mix and really shaping the race today.
It's always evident when they're going for a stage victory, when they've got the skin suit on, they've got all of the aero equipment. Today, EF Education Easy Post will be looking for today's stage victory.
Well, they've got options, and those riders yesterday will have enjoyed the fact that it was quite a relaxed day for the majority and right up until the end. Alberto Bettiol, who didn't do anything on the rest day at all, able to relax and enjoy himself yesterday, as it was a very casual rollout throughout the stage. Richard Carapaz, one of the riders that Hannah and Matt just mentioned as potentially having intentions on today. Let's hear from him.
Richard Carapaz, hoy puede ser un...
So, Richard Carapaz, can today be a good day for you? You won on the Vuelta and on the Giro. You're missing a win on the Tour. Well, we'll have a nice week. Today's a good opportunity, so we'll try. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping it'll go well. What do you think about the route and the climbs today? Well, this stage is going to be quite tough. It's a long stage, but all the percentages of gradient will be together in the finish. I think we'll have a good opportunity, and I'm going to go for it. But hopefully everything will go well, and I'll be able to have a chance. What do you think about the fight between the breakaway and the GC contenders? Is today a good day for the breakaway? Obviously, it's going to be complicated to keep the breakaway close, since there's a 120-kilometer stretch at the beginning. But hopefully the breakaway makes it until the finish, and I hope I'm part of it. So the intention's clear for EF Education, and as has already been mentioned, plenty of potential candidates for them to put forward. Moisture in the air. We wait to see just how that impacts today's stage. Jonas Vingegaard, comfortable, but will know that today will present some challenges and he will have to be on his guard. Let's now hear from Team Jaco Alula's Michael Matthews.
Michael Matthews, what do you think about today's stage and the profile?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think 4,400 meters, more or less. Mostly in the last 45 kilometers. So, yeah, that makes for a lot of climbing meters in a very short period of time. So, yeah, we'll try our best. I think, obviously, I think everyone's plan is the breakaway today. I don't think any GC teams or any big teams are going to be pulling all day to go for the stage. So, obviously, breakaway is the only plan today, and hopefully I have good legs like I had on stage 9.
You already won a stage, I think, 2 years ago. It was a bit less hard, maybe, but there were climbs.
Yeah, I would say a similar sort of stage, but yeah, probably not as hard as we have today. So let's see. Yeah, in the end, it's all going to come down to legs on that final 45 kilometers. It's, I think it's 2K at about 12%, with about 20K to go. So yeah, it's going to favor probably more the lighter climbers, but yeah, I'll be out there trying to do my thing.
Thank you, Michael.
Michael Matthews saying that there's potential, but I think in his heart of hearts he probably thinks that today is just a bit too hard for him. All getting set now down at the start in Évaux-les-Bains. Features in the novel Jean by Georges Sand in 1844. He wrote, in ancient times, hot springs flowed at the Baume Rock a few kilometers from Évaux. These springs, guarded by fairies, cured the locals. But the Queen of the Fairies, unhappy with the honours paid to Saint-Martial, kicked the springs dry and threw her heavy hammer, shouting, wherever this hammer falls, the spring will gush forth. And the hammer fell at Évaux. Évaux-les-Bains has had thermal baths. Since the time of the Gauls, taken on by the Romans, and as we can see here, also boasts a number of beautiful churches and buildings. This one, the Church of Saint-Pierre, Saint-Paul. See a couple of euphoniums, a French horn and a sousaphone, along with those clarinets. Banjo looks a little out of place, but it looks like he quite likes standing out. So Jasper Philipsen, yesterday's stage winner, up at the front. The countdown on for the start of stage 11 of the 111th Tour de France. And the départ fictif is underway. .4 kilometers in the départ fictif today, and I'm sure that it will be more nervous today. Évaux welcoming Le Tour on the 10 juillet, just 4 days to go until the national day, 14 juillet, and that should be a firecracker of a stage as well. Let's go and hear now from Franz Masson.
Franz Masson, today it's a really hard stage. Lots of twisty, narrow roads, lots of elevation. Are you expecting a fight for the general classification?
I expect England to put a lot of pressure on Holland in the start, and then I think they score a goal after 10 minutes, and then the pressure keeps on, and it stays 1-0 till maybe the last minutes, and then I think Holland makes a draw, 1-1, and we win with penalties.
You think? Well, I think we're going to make a late comeback in the extra time given. We're going to have 5 minutes extra time. I think we're going to score a very late goal. It's going to make it 1-1, and then we're going to go to full extra time. So, yeah.
Possible. I think Harry Kane is blocking a lot, and we win the game.
Well, success for that. But today, on two wheels, we've got a hard stage on our hands. What do you think can happen for the general classification, Franz? Do you think anything?
Anything can happen today, to be honest. It's a really hard stage with a lot of altitude meters. Some heat in the end, I think, and I think, personally, I think the brake gonna make it.
You think?
That's one thing, yes.
How's Jonas feeling ahead of a day like today? Do you think many people are underestimating his capabilities on a day like today?
No, I think everyone is a bit nervous for today because it's a really hard stage. After an easy day yesterday, it will be a big battle for the break, I expect. And then it depends who is in the break, what will be going on later on.
You've got Peter Bos, one of the great football coaches in the Netherlands. He's going to give you some tips. Is he going to join you in the team car today?
Not in the team car. He's with Richard in the car, so he's pretty close to the team. But maybe he's a cycling lover, so maybe he has some extra tips.
Thanks very much. Enjoy your day today, friends. Thanks, and success.
Well, an interesting interview. Does feel that the majority of experts and DSs are leaning towards the breakaway staying away, but there is a large amount of uncertainty about exactly what's going to take place today. And most of that is wrapped up in that final 25, 35 kilometers with 4 climbs. In yellow, Tadej Pogacar. His 29th day in the yellow jersey. Jonas Abrahamsen remains in the polka dots. Will he still be in that jersey at the end of the day? Biniam Girmay. He will stay in that green jersey, and Remco Evenepoel is in the white. There definitely isn't the same conversation flowing between riders of the peloton in the run into this one. There is a general feeling, a little bit of unease, but also when is the springboard to that breakaway going to be? How early on? Drifting towards the back, Egan Bernal currently sits in 12th place, 5 minutes and 25 seconds behind the time of Tadej Pogacar. But you can tell the unease just by how close the peloton is riding to the car of Christian Prudhomme at the moment. Roads are narrow. Positioning will be crucial in the latter part of the stage. As you move further back down the peloton, a few more conversations taking place. Although there are no categorized climbs in the initial stages of the etape, there are not flat, straight roads. It is going to be perfect for a springboard, but it's just where will that take place? Will the sprinters teams want to try and get riders through to Bourges-Lastic for the intermediate sprint? Can Jasper Philipsen put any more dents in Biniam Girmay's lead in the green jersey standings? remains to be seen. And it'll be either the breakaway or the GC riders who will contest the end of the stage with those 4 categorized climbs, most notably the Puy-Marie Pas de Pérol and the Col de Pertus. And that penultimate climb, a second category climb, with the bonus seconds up for grabs as well. Is that going to be attractive for Tadej Pogačar? Well, the scene is set. Time now for us to go over and join our commentary team. Today starting with Sean Kelly and first Carlton Kirby.
There are clouds. There's also going to be a storm kicked up for sure at the end of the day, metaphorically you might say, possibly literally. Let's hope the rain stays away, but Warren Barguil not being favoured right at the very beginning. If you're going to get your bad luck out of the way, then make sure it's now. They may well hold it up for him 1,500 metres before we get to our official start. It's possibly lucky that indeed this luck has come, this ill fortune has come now, Sean, because today is going to be electric.
Well, certainly it's the time to have a mechanical. As we see, we're still 1.4 to the official start here, and if there is anybody off the rear with a mechanical problem, they delayed the start for a bit until we get everybody in the peloton, and this is going to be a hectic start. It has to be, and you know, there's so many teams and riders want to be in the breakaway. It's a guarantee it will be a real active start, but will the breakaway get away when you have too many riders trying to make it, too many teams getting involved? It could go on and on and on, and we could get into the part of the race where it gets really difficult. But yeah, when you look at the 140k, there is a lot of kilometres there to form a breakaway. I feel the breakaway will get away, and if it does get away, it should be allowed, you know, enough of a time advantage to go all the way. But yeah, we will have to wait and see. In the first kilometres, we'll answer our questions.
Well, if you're wondering where the crowds are, this is one of the least populated and least visited places in the Tour de France. We're in Creuse at the beginning today. Last time we were here, Robbie McEwen won. We'll be speaking to him about that a little bit later on. Kilometre before the start, but one thing we do know, we have found some spectators here, bless them, is that these wide open spaces are quite gnarly. Nothing like we're going to be dealing with at the end of the day. We're talking 4,000 and more, 4,300 metres of altitude gain today, most of which is backstacked in the last 50 kilometres. We've got some huge climbs that will be magnified by the amount of riders who are trying to contend them. Whether it will be the GC men at the front of the race, we just do not know. It depends on the strength of the breakaway and the determination of it. There are many teams here who are determined to get off and up the road with still that's coveted Tour de France stage win to be found. And there are a lot of teams who've got the kind of firepower that could thrive within a breakaway, and that means that this might be, and let's hope so, because we occasionally build it up and then it turns out not to be the case, but I feel it's certain today we're going to have a hell of a battle to be in this break, Sean, because there is so much at stake for so many teams.
Well, I think it's guaranteed there's going to be a battle. They have to be here on this stage with the earlier part, you know, presenting a step where a break can get away. And there's a lot of riders will be careful to get into the break because it's not majorly difficult, as we see Jan Tratnik here getting a wheel change. It's really in the final where it's real testing. In that final 60 kilometres, that's where it gets really testing for everybody. So the earlier part, that first 150 kilometres approximately, you know, there's huge opportunity. In the very early kilometres, the first 50 kilometres, you know, a perfect terrain for a breakaway to form. So there'll be a lot of riders capable of getting into the breakaway, but they will be not capable of finishing off in the final, because this is for a real good climber. You know, a puncher is going to be in difficulty unless he's thrown heavyweight punches in the final, this afternoon.
Let us see. So, the place that brought us Raymond Poulidor, an eternal second, of course, in the Tour de France, but such a great rider in other races, and of course one of the gentlemen of the sport as well. Let's see how gentlemanly it will be towards the end. A big day in the Tour de France. If you have the amount of ticks that riders must have put against this, marking it up as a potential, then it was a very long list. Now that it started, we'll see whether that list has been shredded. We'll see how it gets taken on. There's a lot of ambition today. Whether it will be realised, it's anybody's guess. And we are underway. Nothing quiet about this start. Abramson, no surprise to see the polka dots up towards the front. He's got an intermediate sprint, but more importantly for him, he's got a couple of the lesser mountains that we're going to be dealing with up ahead down the roads. But the last 50 kilometres of today is where the action points really will come thick and fast. And it may well be, if a strong breakaway does manage to get themselves off and up the road, that in fact we get two races within one. Remco Evenepoel at the beginning of the day said it could just be a case of him trying not to lose time today. At the end, Tadej Pogačar, his name is being screamed loud and proud amongst of course the favourites for today. Whether that will be in a secondary battle amongst the GC men or indeed at the pointy end, we don't know. We can only find out once this breakaway is established, and Sean, it could take quite a bit of time.
Yes, it could take quite a bit of time. We can see World Poles here from Bahrain victorious, trying to push on here. Yeah, there's a lot of teams mixtures here, as you can see here. You know, they're just looking and waiting who's moving. Nobody wants to make the big effort on the front of the peloton, and as we can see, you know, they're all following each other here, and that is the problem. When you have a day where everybody pretty much is talking, there's a good possibility for the breakaway to get up the road and go all the way to the finish and fight for the stage win. Well then, you know, there's a lot of interest, and you know, 9 teams with stage wins here. There's a lot of teams, you know, need something out of this one, and today is an opportunity day.
Campeonato, and never that far away from the pointy end. Francis Dejeux desperate to get a stage win. So many French riders and French teams have shone in this race, and they want to be part of it. The American champion Sean Quinn up towards the fore. We expect sort of a rolling series of attacks. I think for me, Education Easy Post today, they've been very much animators of this race. Still to find their stage win, maybe that will be today. It seems an ideal one for Ben Healy, who hasn't shown his nose just yet out front, Sean, but it's only going to be a matter of time, surely.
Yes, well, it's certainly a matter of time. We can see there EF Education Easy Post. Paulus is the one who is, you know, making the moves here, but you can see there that there's, you know, a lot of the teams were expecting DSM. We can see there, we can see Total Energies, Group AM FDJ. We can see again EF Education, Paulus having another go here. So the teams that you're expecting to, you know, want to be in the breakaway, they're all present on the front here, but they're all waiting, watching each other. Nobody wants to make too much of an effort when they feel it might not be the right move, but we can see here it's starting to stretch out.
Matthew's just tagging on to, I beg your pardon, we'll reboot that. Romain Bardet, very much a surprise to be out of the front so early. I thought it would be Warren Barguil, but he suffered a puncture. Don't know whether his shoulders have dropped modestly. Let's wait and see. This could be a folding affair, Sean, for quite some time.
Yes, well, it looks like that it is getting very tactical here, and we can see Stefan Kung from Group AM FDJ having a go here. And yeah, when it's a day, you know, it's pretty guaranteed the breakaway will get away. Then you see a lot of the riders just looking, waiting, not making too much of an effort, riding on the front for, you know, long time with riders in your wheel here. So that's what we're seeing here at the moment. Yeah, a lot of, you know, waiting, looking at each other, following wheels, and it looks like, yeah, it's going to go on for a while. But at any point when you get 10, 12 riders up the road, the teams that want to get in the breakaway are out there, then the GC team slows it down. It could, you know, get away suddenly, and you have to be there if you're a team that want to be up there. And we can see Carapaz moving here. EF Education, the Easy Post is a one we're expecting to be very active, and they have been right from the start.
Carapaz kicking it. I was just about to say, is that Brian Kokaric coming to try and join the fun? Stevie Williams is on the back of that little line of 5 or 6 riders that are just chasing into Carapaz at the moment. Would be an ideal kind of man today, Carapaz, to try and deliver something. I was just about to say, we haven't seen the first real concerted attack, you know, really trying to sprint away, because riders have been looking over their shoulders to see the composition of the attempted break, Sean, and that's a natural thing. will it be allowed up the road is always the question you ask yourself when you come off the front.
Well, I think it will be allowed up the road by the GC teams, but the teams that are interested in the breakaway, they're all trying to be there, not giving the big effort at all, as you say, Carlton, for the moment. They're thinking, yeah, this break, I have to try and get into it. If I make too many efforts going with moves, well then I'm not going to be able to go on the right one. So they're all thinking that same, spare a little bit. They're also thinking the end of this stage is a real difficult one. The final 60 kilometres are majorly difficult, and it's a long stage, 211 kilometres, the second longest stage of the tour, and we're into the second week of racing, although we had a rest day 2 days ago, Monday. Yes, yesterday was a pretty easy day. There is, a lot of fresher riders here, but still all playing cagey.
15 or so riders just all locked together at the moment, all looking at each other, wondering about the composition of the group, just wanting to make sure that nobody with a real threat to the GC. Even, what would you suspect, Sean, would be an acceptable rider? Somebody who's more than 5 minutes on the overall classification would be allowed in the break. Is even 5 minutes too much?
Well, I think around the 5 minutes, and depending on who that rider is as well, because we're very early in the race. From the mountain stages, we had one stage already in this race, and this is only the second mountain day, so we haven't had a real test. But I think around that 5 minutes is of one where the teams will be looking at not allowing a rider in that place in GC to get up the road.
Well, there's no doubt about the teams with ambitions here. John Degenkolb has now joined the fun here, just tucked in. Saw right at the very beginning of the day, Mywhoosh was certainly hovering around the rear bumper of Christian Prudhomme. And we'll be hearing from Matt Stevens in a few moments' time on the motorcycle. French champion has got himself up, Paul Lapierre for Decathlon AG Tour La Mondiale. They would love something out of the day. Lidl Trek looking extremely busy, few other teams as well. Total Energy is clearly getting a massive boost after Anthony Turgis' victory on stage 9. They were some of the early animators here, everything being neutralised just for now. Let's hear the thoughts of Matt Stevens.
Bonjour tout le monde. I'm on the moto again for stage 11. I've got my cheese in hand, but get ready to fuel me on what is going to be a very, very long day in the saddle. But my first observations of the first few Ks, we're actually ahead of the race at the moment. We're going to try and drop in behind any breakaway that forms early, is that it's just really undulating. You don't get a true sense of how hilly this is by the profile. It looks pretty flat, but believe you me, it's up and down. They'll be carrying a lot of momentum into each of these kickers, strength tapping, and also on chipping watch as well. The road surface we've got out in rural France is a little bit like we get in the UK. Harder, bigger chippings, little bit harder to move through, will sap the strength a little bit more. So all of these factors will play in to the fatigue that will set in at the back end of this extraordinarily long and difficult day in the saddle. But for me, it's bon appetit, and back to the commentators.
Thank you, Matt. Heavy road, Sean, we were discussing this before we came to air. You said it's not a nice place to ride your bike. Very fatiguing. Just explain what a heavy road means.
Well, exactly as Matt said, the surface on the road, there are bigger chippings here, and heavier roads, we say. The bike doesn't roll as well as on the very smooth roads, and some places in France we have real smooth surface. Here is that heavier surface, coarser surface, and that makes it more difficult. And sometimes here you can get really warm, although today it's not too warm here at the start. They're giving it warmer late in the day, so that is going to be a help to a lot of the riders here. But yeah, in general, this part of France, it is a heavier road surface for all of this stage.
There we go. Finally, a Trident off the front here, double checking over their shoulders, see if anyone else is going to be tempted. Surely 3 are not going to be allowed to go when there's so much at stake for those teams who've not got much out of the race so far. Arkea, of course, with Kevin Vauquelin. They've been busy in the sprints as well, really trying yesterday to get Arnaud Demar into position. Didn't quite work out, I'm afraid, for Demar. But they're quite a team that will indeed go all in. And guess what? It's Vauquelin again with Pachier and Johannesson. This is 3 riders, Sean, that you would have put a tick against today for.
Yes, but we were putting a lot of ticks earlier on today.
That is
Carlson.
true.
When we went down to the start list, I think we had about 25 ticks there. So yeah, it's not surprising we have some of them in that ones who are highlighting. But there's going to be a lot more, I think. And I'd be surprised if this, slows down and allow this breakaway to go away, because the riders we have up here, they are serious ones, but they are enough, and there will be teams who will start to try and get across here. They will get an earful in the DS's from the DS's team car here to get across to this one. And yeah, when you can see, Pacher, Vaculin, Johansson, three good riders here, but how long will it be allowed?
Well, almost the eternal question, I think it's fair to say. And here's your answer, Sean. There's a few others that would like to reach out and indeed join the fun. I thought that Lutsenko might have another one of his louder days. He got himself up in the break a couple of days ago, and in fact into Troyes, finishing 6th place that day. He's got some happy hunting grounds, of which he would probably count this, but the trio, indeed for the time being, are being allowed their head because the chase can't organise itself, Sean, and a few disruptors are getting involved as well. We've got teammates within this trio.
Yes, well, we can see that there's riders from the men that are in the breakaway on the front of the peloton. They are going to try and close this one down and follow the attacks, and that is always difficult. And we can see there EF Education, Easy Post are the ones again, pushing on. Nelson Paulus having a go here, and this is only going to last for a little bit, and we will see more attacks. We have to see, some of the other teams that want to be in the breakaway try and get across to this one before it gets out of control. 15 seconds at the moment, and we can see the peloton is still going along at a very fast pace. So for the three, to open up the back gap quickly, it's going to take a bit of time.
Tobias Johannesson, okay, it may not be somebody to trouble the general classification, but he is certainly somebody who is a star in this kind of puncher scenario. 6th in Flèche-Wallonne, last year's Tour, he had his nose out there. He was hitting the brakes almost constantly. He's in this one right now, and on a stage like this, I would have put him top of the list for Uno X, and so they have achieved their aims, albeit by a modest margin of 18 seconds just for the time being. This is catchable, but the terrain favours the brake, Sean, the way it rolls. Look at it.
Yes, well, as we heard from our man out there on the motorbike, Matt Stevens, he said this is, not a flat terrain at all. It doesn't look difficult here, but it does, kick up, and undulating all the time is the word. And, the heavier surface is thrown in with that. It is a difficult one here. But we can see 21 seconds at the moment. They're all just waiting back in the peloton. Who's going to take up the chase? And we can see there in the general classification, a long ways down the guys who are up there. So there's no worries at all whatsoever there. But we can see here still being stirred up on the front of the peloton by EF.
I think the danger to everyone, including the ambitions of those who would be in the break, is Kevin Vauquelin. He's taken a stage. He's been selected for the Olympics, Sean, for the French team. He was fabulous, even in the time trial, finished in, let me just check, in 6th place. I mean, he's a man who's got everything at the moment. He's certainly one for a day like this.
Yes, well, this is the terrain that he will be able to defend well and try and get a stage.
Speeding guys in the meeting, so Bahrain Education first. The French team are more motivated to move on.
Well, there you are. More motivated. I don't know whether that means than us. I very much doubt it. But you can see the exchanges that are going on. Is it in the interest of the GC teams as well, as Wout van Aert starts to mix it? We've seen as well Stevie Williams having more than a couple of digs so far today. Chris Nylance is in the gang here, and it's starting to look a little bit laboured at the front of what we can call the peloton, just behind this group of 8 or 10. They've got the firepower, Sean, to eat into that gap. It's whether they will do or not. They certainly look motivated to do so, but look at the catch that's being attempted behind. Is that Healy who's trying to get across? I think it might be.
Yes, it is, and we can see Carapaz is up front here, and there's a lot of good riders in this little split, but it's not going to be the one where we're going to see being allowed away here, all coming back together again. And In the meantime, 23 seconds to our 3 leaders out front, and unless they can get another good group here out of the peloton, meaning 6 or 8 riders to get across to this one, 1 or 2 riders are going to have a bit of difficulty bridging this gap if it goes out to that 30 seconds plus.
Well, this man could certainly get up there. Well done out, Sean. It would be great to see a display like we know he has within him.
Yes, well, we have the situation where the teams who have got a man up the road, they're just going to follow the attacks here, and that's what we're seeing with World Van Aert. And there's the marking out now for the moment, but yeah, with a small group out front, there's still the great possibility to try and keep on the attacking, keep on the pressure here, and try and form another group from the peloton.
Well, just looking back in that group, I was hoping to see somebody from Jayco, actually. I even thought maybe Simon Yates today, particularly Chris Harper, though. And Michael Matthews was speaking favourably about trying to get involved today, but there's a few teams that have just ebbed as others have flowed. It's very early days, though, Sean.
Well, it's early days, but in the early part of the stage, that's where the breakaway you'd expect to form in the first 20-30 kilometres. High speed, it should be the place where we will see the break getting away, but with the 3 men out in front now, and still a lot of riders still continue on to attack, and a lot of teams wanting to get across, this could go on for much longer than you would expect. But again, when you have so much interest in the breakaway, often we see the case where it goes on, and it takes a long time into the day before the break manages to get out.
Coming through Ozon says, let's hear what Adam says. Adam, welcome. A very dramatic day in prospect and lively right from the off. Just what we need.
It is just what we need. I'm sure a lot of riders are thinking it's exactly what they don't need right now. But interestingly, it is going to be a real big battle for the breakaway. But just have a look where UAE are. They're so good at this. They just let the race happen in front of them. They let the kilometres tick by. We heard on the breakaway this morning an interview from Tadej Pogačar telling us how hard the final of this stage was. So if they want to control it today, go for a stage win. It's going right up their alley at the minute. They don't have to control it. They're not riding on the front. They're just letting this fight for the breakaway go on and on and on. And the more it goes on, the more it benefits them, because they don't have to do the pulling on the front. But a few teams that are really trying today, obviously Wout van Aert is pulling up there with Visma Lease bike. Also Israel Premier Tech, they look like they're really trying. They've got Chris Neelands and Stevie Williams, who I think will be brilliant to go for the break. But Jake Stewart, also Hugo Hulla's been right up to the front. I think them and EF, they're wanting Carapaz and Ben Healy, but they want both of them in the breakaway, not just one. So it's a big tactical game that's going to be played to get in this breakaway today.
Still they drive. Let's hear from Matt.
Another key aspect of a stage like this, it is a very remote area, but we will from time to time pass through villages and towns, and because of the rain that we've had, what you've got is a lot of wet and dry road surfaces. Forgive me for waxing on about different surfaces, but the technical side of the sport and road surfaces, wet and dry, so important, because wet surfaces, changeable surfaces, just add immensely to the stress. We've just passed through this little village here. Lots of acute right-handers, a little bit of off-cambers, pedestrianised areas, speed bumps as well. Lots of new patchwork tarmac as well to contend with. Just another factor to add to what is already a pretty challenging day. And as I said before, just to re-emphasise, this is very hilly. Lots of the climbers have already been over in the first 15k. On a ordinary flat stage would definitely be categorised. Corkscrew descent coming up. Yeah, this is super technical. Should be very active. Back to the commentators.
Thank you, Matt. Kobe Hussens and Frank van den Broek at the side of the roads. Frank got up very quickly, Kobe taking a little more time. And talking about different grip levels here, I don't know whether it's a touch of wheels or whether it's a transition point as well. Looks pretty even surface, but not ideal at all, stating the obvious, I guess. But Kobe Hussens is okay, and for that we have to be grateful, Sean. But it is pacey, and it's going to take a while to get back in.
Yes, pacey, and we can see the damage he's done. He's ripped a lot of his kit here, and yeah, you just see the dry patch there, and then there's wet patches. We also see a motorbike there after crashing, so I think that's maybe panicked a little bit of the riders. And yeah, at this rate, the way they're going, you could see there was groups. Healy was out in front, really pushing on, and yeah, if a rider just takes a little bit of scare and start, go on the brakes a bit too much. As we can see here, the motorbike is just off the road here as they come round here at a real fast rate, and we could see very much on the front of the peloton the guy sliding out.
Adam, do you think that motorcycle caused the incident there? Suddenly being at that throw-out point in the curve.
No, not all. I think, excuse me, I think where that motorbike had crashed is obviously something on the road, because the rider behind, he might have seen it, braked a little bit. But if a motorbike's come down, they've got so much grip on the roads compared to these bikes, the tyres are so much fatter, that he might have slipped out on a bit of oil, a wet patch, the white line maybe. And then Kobe Gosens, who we saw come down, looks like he might have slipped on that exact same patch. So he's back on his bike. And you do forget how hard riders are, don't you? 193 Ks and however many stages still to go with all these wounds.
It's incredible, isn't it? Riders were kind of used to them.
This is a break.
Used to them just carrying so much. This is a break. Ben Healy started this, Adam. He really is a danger man. If he's going, there are other riders that want to be with him.
There is. I mean, the riders that are in that break, Wout van Aert, Tom Pidcock in there as well, Lascano from Movistar. There is some real firepower, and they're just the three names that I mentioned. Interesting to see two riders from Ineos Grenadiers behind. This is the first stage we've seen Ineos Grenadiers looking like they're trying to get some victory, apart from Tom Pidcock on the gravel stage, obviously. But yeah, this is a strong group that's going off the front here. Stevie Williams as well within there from Israel Premier Tech as well. Carapaz coming in the background.
This could well be the killing of the trio that are up front. These are the pursuers at 15 seconds. The peloton itself only half a minute in abeyance just for now.
Ooh.
You look at the power within this group, it's phenomenal, Sean.
Yes, and we can see there, two from Visma, isn't it?
Two from Visma, yeah, I was going to say, two from Visma, it's important.
Yes, Lemon is there, and this is an interesting one now, because it's 10 men approximately, with another riders coming across here. This is a big one, and it will be interesting to see, will this be the one that'll stick? We can see the teams are represented here. This could be the breakaway of the day.
This is a breakaway and a half. Two riders from Visma, two riders from Ineos Grenadiers, Pidcock and Kwiato, two riders from EF there as well. I mean, the firepower within this. We spoke this morning on the show about how the breakaways formed, and for most of the teams wanting to win the stage today, they'll probably need a teammate along with them, and there's three teams there who have got some right firepower behind them.
Gregoire and Madouas are in here, Carapaz and Ben Healy, Stephen Williams, no teammate for him, but Zingler is here. We have Lascano as well, Oil Lascano from Movistar. Oscar Onley has made the trip with Harold Tejeda. Wout van Aert, though, absolutely outstanding. We have Kwiatkowski and Pidcock. What a pairing that is as well, with Bruno Amarai. I think these guys are now having a chat to each other. The forlorn hope of them avoiding merging with this group, but it would take it to around 17, 18 riders. I'm sure I've missed somebody out there, Adam. That looks like, even with this modest margin, a group capable of keeping away.
Yeah, that is definitely a group that could stay away. They see UAE rider Tim Wellens moving up to the front as well. EF just right on the wheel of Jasper Stuyven here. Obviously, Trek have missed that breakaway. They want a rider in there. So Stuyven, he has got a job on his hands. But with that EF rider behind him, as soon as he swings across, he will just shut it down completely. And the riders that are in the break, you can imagine see those teams, the other riders from it within the team, come into the fore of the peloton and just trying to neutralise things ever so slightly. But there's only around 20 seconds between that group behind and the peloton at the minute. They really need to keep on the gas for it to go away.
Yes, we can see there the peloton in the background of this group coming across to our leaders out on the road. It's a margin where it's not over yet, and if you have more teams with little Trek who want to push on here, as we can see Stuyven still riding on here, and the teams who have got men up the road, they're going to just start, blocking here. So it's going to be an interesting one, because they have to close this one down quickly, because if it gets together out front and they get that 20-30 second advantage, well, then it's going to be an impossible task to close this very powerful break.
That's Luke Durbridge on the front now. We heard from Simon Yates. You can see him about 6 wheels back just in front of Alberto Bettiol in that Italian national champions kit. He is right up towards the front today, and he stated that he wants to go for the stage if it's available today, and it suits him down to the ground. So Durbridge trying to see if they can bring that group back just in the background there, so they can give Simon Yates the best chance of trying to jump across. But the firepower within this group is ridiculous, and the combination of teammates within it as well. That is going to be hard for anyone, no matter who it is. If it was Philippe Ogana on the front of the peloton, to bring this back.
Let's see, 19 seconds only now, the peloton. They really clearly fear this. Much of the drive being done by Jaco Alula, Sean.
What's here?
Yeah. My goodness. I think this is because they want somebody up the road. If Fisba are going to do it, they want to be there as well.
Carlton. Oh, sorry, Sean. I was just about to say UAE on the front, which is very interesting. If they were going to make a statement that they want to win this stage, that's it right there. Putting Tim Wellens on the front and bringing it back. Clear as day that Tadej wants the stage today.
There you go. I don't want any assistance for Tadej Pogacar up the road, and for this incarnation of the break, that would have been the case. So it's going to come back. So reset yourself, Sean. The battle goes on.
Yes, the battle goes on, and this is an interesting one. Is the break too big up there? Are they looking for a stage win from UAE?
Adam, if UAE are going to try and control the day, it's going to be busy for them. Tadej Pogacar, I suggest, would have the mettle to carry it. Let's just get from team radio.
Okay, so Castro say that UAE want to control the race, but yeah, for me, let's see the break. If it takes a long time, then maybe they don't have a choice. Okay, so let's start sharp. We don't change anything from the plan for now.
There you go, Adam. Battle plans have been drawn. They're trying to be neutralised by UAE Team Emirates, who you've clearly pointed out are showing their strength today and their determination. But other teams as well will have some of that in bags, I imagine.
They will have that in bags for sure. They will. I think today, as we heard, stick to the battle plan, what Ineos Grenadiers said then, but you just need to keep an eye on what's happening. When a team like UAE starts to ride on the front, it's clear that they want the stage win today, so you really have to reassess. And with a group like that that's just gone off the road, you can't let that size of a group go. And this man today, Ben Healy to go for the stage win, it's a very good idea with Ben because he's got the capabilities. We know that, but he's only 7 minutes 15 back on GC. So for him, they're not going to give him that big gap. And also for Ben Healy today, it is going to be super difficult with the intention of UAE, what they're showing, already. They're not going to give him the big gap. It's clear that Tadej wants it, and he needs that to be communicated to him, because the deeper this goes in to the race, the harder it's going to get, and the harder it's going to get for him just to hang 2-3 minutes out in front, the harder it's going to be to win the stage. As you see, Fred Wright suffering on these early slopes.
Well, suffering now, Sean, going to suffer an awful lot more later on.
Well, that just tells how difficult this terrain is. The surface is very heavy going here, just that racing full on, and it's certainly on the race here, and we can see UAE pushing on, but we have to wait and see if it's to keep the race together and try and go for the stage win, and also upset the GC standings. But yeah, with Team Visma Lisa by 2 men up there, maybe they're concerned with that as well, and they don't want that to be a situation later into the race. So a bit further into this stage, we will see if they're still interested in controlling. With 188 kilometers to go, it's a big ask to control it in this first part of the race, with such a long distance to get to the really meaty part of the stage.
Just a bit of breathable gauze there, being attached to Robbie Houston's, who is one of those who's been bitten by the day. We believe possibly just some fluid on the road which took out a motorcycle, and indeed he found it himself, unfortunately. Meanwhile, the wrestle to get into a break today continues. Maxime Van Hil's now showing some ambition. Ben Healy, if you're going to pick a puppy that was going to give you a lot of exercise, you'd pick a terrier like him. He is just relentless. He's sure to go again. You can be certain. Well, we're already a goodly distance into today's stage, with a total of 211 to be contended with. It's Kobe Housens. He's been back to the medical car, and indeed has been patched up as best as he possibly can. Paulo Paranel, French champion, has decided to go and show the tricolour up the road. Double checks over his shoulder. It's a duo only, and it looks like it might be Healy having another dig. When does he stop, Sean? He's a dog with a bone.
Well, it's all happening. It's all kicking off here. And if you want to be in the breakaway, you have to be accurate. We can see Bernard from Little Trek here, Julian Bernard, and yeah, we did hear from Ineos or some of the other team DS as well. The French are very interested in this stage, and it's certainly the case. But you know, we can see Ben Healy. He just keeps on trying and trying, and you know, he never leaves up. And yeah, that is his character. That's the way he likes racing. And all this sort of terrain, we know that EF Education wants to be in the break. But if you put too much in the earlier part with this very difficult final, then you might be in difficulty. But you have to make the breakaway, then see who is in it, if it's going to be allowed to get that big advantage to go all the way. So if you have the interest in getting in, well, then you have to give that big effort to be there.
There's also, sorry Carlton, Roman Bardet, the winner of stage 1, just jumped onto the back of that. Davide Formolo, he's a very, very strong rider. Used to be in the team with UAE today, so maybe he will understand what their tactics will be today, even though they are clear as day to me. Got Mark Soler there just policing things. 2 riders back, Tim Wellens from UAE as well. They are right towards the front UAE and not letting anything that looks dangerous slide. And at the minute, anything with Ben Healy in it looks like they're trying to bring it back.
Roman Bardet, he was majestic when it came to the opening stage. The way he bridged to the break, and of course to his teammate Van den Broek, which was just genius at work. He's very smoothly effective, Sean. He's not been trying to drift to every single one of the breaks, showing a bit of cleverness. And well, let's wait and see indeed if his wisdom pans out. At the moment, it's incredibly hard to read who's going to have the legs to even get into the breakaway.
Well, it is a big mishmash of teams and riders here, as we can see. You know, it's still going on, and it's going to go on and on until, you know, we get that plastic snap and we get that break formed. Yeah, it's this stage that we always talked about, that it is a perfect one for the breakaway, but it's costing a lot of energy here to a lot of riders trying to make this breakaway. As we can see, you know, again, another group just coming off the front, but more riders looking, trying to make it across, looking at each other, see who's there, and this is going to, you know, go on. But at any point we could just get that right combination. The teams are happy with the situation, then it could close down. So you have to be very active if you want to have your team in the breakaway.
There's a balancing act, Alan, between what would be a perfect breakaway to actually get away and the imperfections that would be acceptable to the GC teams.
I mean, it's such a hard day today to judge which is the right breakaway. We saw a group go previously with some big names in there and a lot of teammates in there as well. And UAE, Jayco and Lidl Trek were the ones that shut that down because they didn't have Lidl didn't have a teammate in there, Jayco didn't have a teammate, and UAE didn't want that to go out as well. But if we look now on the road, there's 15, maybe 20 riders in there, and this becomes a panic now for a few of the GC teams, because if you look in that second group where Ben Turner is in the orange on the front of it, there is a UAE rider, so they start to slip into moves, they start to put the pressure on. UAE then get to go on the back foot against the likes of Remco, against the likes of these guys. So we've got a rider there, you know, if you want to control it, if you want to do this, you crack on. But I think later on in the race, it's obvious with Tadej showing what he wants to do today with putting the team to the front. And even if they do have a rider up the road, Tadej can still go on the attack. So the GC teams really have to mark each other and make sure nothing too dangerous goes. The likes of Joao Almeida, these kind of guys trying to jump away, not trying to jump in the way, but get in small breaks and just go under the radar a little bit.
Simon Yates, you know, it's always somebody that you want to see up towards the front. Julien Bernard, Brian Coquard is here. This looks almost like a wavering sprint at the moment, and it's been marked out yet again. Here is Simon Yates just coming to the front, just having a look at the makeup, seeing who's here, whether it's worth the candle, whether he needs to just regather himself and go again. And there is the peloton, absolutely relentless, Sean, in their pursuit of these guys until they can be certain who is indeed there.
Yes, well, we can see it's you know, a big fight, and we can see the speeds they're going at 65 kilometers an hour just some time back there. We're still doing over 50 kilometers an hour over this sort of lumpy terrain.
Well, we follow the waves, as you can see. Yeah, just that means, Adam, don't try and bite off more than you can chew, but just try and get the measure of those who are going off the front and join the right one.
Save the energy. Don't jump in the moves, follow the moves is basically what that means, and just try to stay up there. Stay in that washing machine that's sort of slipping off the front. See Laporte go up towards the front. One man that I just saw jump into that large group who we've not seen at all this race. Ooh, that's a tight corner on very, very
Look how
slippy
sheer. It looks
surfaces.
like it's new, Adam.
It does look like it's new. They always lay new tarmac down, but I was just saying, Wout Poels from Bahrain getting in the mix there as well. We've not really seen him at all through this Tour de France yet, but it shows how hard this day can be. If the line is like Wout Poels are trying on stage 11, normally he's after stage 15 when he starts to come into it, but not this early on in the race. So it's a very, very difficult day, and that's why we're seeing so many riders, so many teams trying for it today.
I must admit, Sean, I thought we'd probably have a better settlement right now, but it's a mark of how important every single day becomes. It gets magnified the deeper you get into a race if your team haven't got anything out of it.
Well, the problem is here, there's so much interest in getting into the breakaway. It's just, you know, marking each other out, and, you know, you see a good breakaway of, you know, 20 riders almost, and then there is 2 teams or 3 teams are not happy with the situation. You know, they just ride full on the front and close it down, that 15-20 second advantage, and that is what you could expect in this one. Will the breakaway manage to get away early? Will there be so much interest because of all the teams wanting to have, or pretty much all the teams wanting to have some riders in there? And that's what we're seeing on our screens at the moment. And, you know, this man just hanging out in front here. Yeah, you'd question this tactic from Laporte here, from the team. But he probably feels, yeah, if I'm just dangling out in front, there might 5 or 10 riders come across, and it could be the move of the breakaway. But you cannot do this for too long.
I think this is a statement, Adam, from Visma Lease Bike. First with Wout van Aert, now with Christophe Laporte. They really are sort of showing their steel grip at the moment, at least on their own affairs.
It's an interesting one, though. This also shows me that Visma Lease Bike have got big ambitions today with Jonas on the stage. I think if they weren't trying to jump in breaks, they'd want to make it hard behind, but they're trying to apply the pressure by putting a man in the break for maybe...
I don't know why I got that achievement.
Maybe put a rider up the road for Jonas later on. They might be worried that if they get deeper into the climbs, the likes of Van Aert, the likes of Laporte might not be able to help. So send a rider up the road in anticipation, maybe. But I'm trying to think... I can understand if Jonas went on the attack, but on a day like today, I don't think the climbs are long enough for Jonas to go on the attack, but obviously they have different ideas, and they know Jonas obviously a lot better than what I do and what we think is happening. But yeah, they've got a plan, and they really want riders in the break today.
Adam, we don't know what's happening. Do you agree with me?
I'll take it.
The only thing I do know is that UAE want to keep it up there for a stage. I think that is black and white to me, the way they've been riding so far. After that, not
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Got a ride tomorrow. Keep your eyes peeled for it. Hopefully it's not as late as today, but